If you've been scrolling through endless spec sheets, watching YouTubers argue about the best laptop for creators and still feel like you're just trading one guess for another, this review is the moment you can finally stop guessing. You've probably asked yourself whether the money you're about to spend will actually translate into smoother render times, fewer crashes, or just another shiny slab that looks good on a desk but never lives up to the hype. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes I'm going to walk through the real-world experience of the Lenovo ThinkPad P1 Gen 7, point out the hidden trade-offs that aren't obvious in the headline specs, and tell you exactly who will get the most bang for their buck and who should keep looking. Let's start with the big picture. The ThinkPad P1 Gen 7 is positioned as a mobile workstation, but its hardware is more than capable of handling high-end gaming as well. At the heart of the machine sits Intel's Ultra 7165H, a 13-core CPU that leans heavily on the newer Meteor Lake architecture. In practice, that means you'll see a noticeable lift when you open a complex 3D scene in software like Autodesk Maya or Blender, especially if you're also running background services such as a local Git server or a VPN. The RTX 3000 Ada GPU, equipped with 8GB of GDDR6, is the first Ada generation mobile chip Lenovo offered. For most professionals, that translates to real-time viewport rendering that feels buttery, and for gamers it pushes 1080p titles comfortably above 60 frames per second with settings cranked up. Now, why does all that matter beyond the numbers? Picture yourself on a construction site, pulling up a Revit model on a portable screen while the rest of the crew is still on the job. The 16-inch 2.8K IPS panel, 2560160, gives you enough screen real estate to see details without sacrificing portability. The 500 nit brightness and anti-glare coating mean you can actually read those fine lines under bright daylight, something that many laptops with similar resolutions still struggle with. In my own testing, the color accuracy was close enough to sRGB that I could do basic color grading on the go without pulling a separate external monitor. Memory and storage are the next practical pillars. The machine comes with 32GB of LPDDR5x RAM, clocked at a blistering 7,467 metric tons per second. Because it's a CAMM2 module, you get a slimmer profile, but you also lose the option to pop in another stick later. If you're a video editor who routinely works with 4K footage, the 32GB will feel generous for a couple of months, but if you anticipate scaling to 8K or running multiple virtual machines, you'll be hitting that ceiling sooner rather than later. The 1TB NVMe SSD is fast enough that opening a 200-page Photoshop file or loading a Unity project takes under a second, but it's not a huge capacity for someone who stores raw footage locally. In that case, an external SSD or a cloud workflow becomes a must. Battery life is often the Achilles heel of high-performance laptops, and the P1 is no exception. With a 4-cell LiPo pack, you can expect roughly 5 to 6 hours of mixed-usage email, light web browsing, occasional spreadsheet work. Push the RTX 3000 into a demanding render or a modern AAA game and that drops to under 2 hours. If you're a digital nomad who needs to work off-grid for a full day, you'll likely have to bring the charger or a power bank. That's a trade-off you have to weigh against the raw compute power you gain. Thermal performance is another hidden factor. Lenovo has opted for a dual-fan design with vapor chamber cooling, which does a respectable job at keeping temperatures in the low 80°C during a sustained 30-minute render. However, after an hour of continuous load, you'll notice the fans kicking in with a noticeable whine that can be distracting in a quiet office. It's not a design flaw, it's a consequence of packing a desktop-class GPU into a 2.5kg chassis. For most users that's acceptable, but if you need a silent environment for voiceover work or streaming, you might want to invest in a cooling pad. Connectivity-wise, the P1 shines. The built-in Wi-Fi 7 module, Intel B200, provides low latency and high throughput, which you'll actually notice if you're transferring large datasets over a 6 gigabits per second Ethernet, a Wi-Fi bridge, or streaming high-resolution video from a cloud workstation. Bluetooth 5.4 pairs quickly with peripherals, and the presence of a full-size HDMI 2.1 port means you can attach a 4K external monitor without needing a dongle. The 5MP RGB+IR camera with dual microphones and a privacy shutter is a nice touch for professionals who spend a lot of time on video calls. Face recognition works out of the box, and the shutter gives you peace of mind when you step away. So, who should actually buy this machine? If you're a CAD engineer, a VFX artist, or a data scientist who needs a portable box that can handle CUD accelerated workloads without plugging into a dock, the ThinkPad P1 Gen 7 is one of the few laptops that can deliver that without resorting to a bulky desktop replacement. It's